So recording is there. You are presenting to everyone is fine. Now you'll have to open the book textbook. Okay. So essentially, like file locking is a simple idea, right? So the other day we have already covered one part of it, whereby how to open a file for exclusive access. How to open a file for exclusive access. That we have already discussed and reasonably we have understood, right? So, whereby in order to use any other resource, we will normally use this particular technique. This is a program, right, that we have already talked about, lock2.c. So, whereby you try to open a file of this particular nature, normally created in a temp folder. The files are all going to be removed the moment the system is shut down. So that's why you try to create any temporary files in a folder called /tmp. So here you are trying to what it is open this particular file for exclusive access, meaning that you create the file and open the file for reading and writing purpose in this particular case, so that only one process is going to be allowed to do that. So the open system call is in that particular aspect is going to be executed in an atomic level. Atomic level means so only one process is going to be allowed to start opening the file in an exclusive mode, and it will not be interrupted in the middle, right? So one process will do half of the opening, another process will do another half, and there is confusion there whereby both the process will be allowed. So that kind of thing doesn't happen. Open is going to be executed in a atomic level for opening a file, creating it if required, essentially in an exclusive mode. That's what we have already discussed. So you open like any process that would like to execute the code in the what you call critical section. That section of the code that multiple programs are likely to like attempt to execute, but may try to modify some common resources, that kind of stuff. So you first open the file for exclusive access before entering into the critical section. And then in case you get access to that file, then you actually go ahead and execute the critical section code. At the end of the critical section code, you remove the corresponding what you call lock file, so that any other process would like to use the critical section can again make an attempt and all that. So that's the idea here. As you can see here, you're trying to open it, and in case it is failed, it returns -1, and you know that there is a problem. So that particular process is made to wait for certain period. Wait for this, meaning that some other code is being executed. So if it is successful, then it can proceed. It has got the access to the lock. So this is a critical section code, sleep of 1. And at the end of the usage of the critical section code, right, you remove the corresponding file. But because you have opened it for locking purpose or whatever, first you close the file descriptor and then remove the file by using unlink. And then this can go into sleep mode, so that this process can this thing, meaning that it can do its own activity other than the critical section, right? So only this part of the code, sleep 1 is the critical section code. The remaining part is the normal code, which like it can execute at its own time and all that. So this is how the access to common areas of a code by multiple programs can be controlled, right? This is all right as long as you want to execute the critical section in an exclusive manner. But if you have a very large file, you have data that is there in the file, and then you want to have access to a part of the file. A part of a large file, you want to have an exclusive access, not to the entire file, but a part of the file, a region of a file. Then you have this technique will not help, but you have other mechanisms by using either FCNTL system call or by using another library function called lockf. Lock a file, lock a region of a file. That is what you really mean by. So we were talking about this particular system call called FCNTL. So after opening the file, you get a file descriptor. Use that file descriptor to apply locks on regions of the file. So in order to use this, you have to include the header file called fcntl.h. What are the kind of commands that FCNTL can be sent in order to apply locks and all that? These are the three commands. Right? You can get to know what kind of locks are applied on a particular region by using f_get_lk. So what kind of locks are applied on a particular region of a file? How do you identify which part of the region, which region of the file is to be, like you want to know? There is a structure for that. So there is a file lock structure, flock structure, struct flock, within which you have all the fields that are to be appropriately initialized to get the lock status of that particular region of the listing. Similarly, you have f_setlk command. We can use this command as a part of the second parameter. We can use this f_setlk in order to apply what we call a shared lock. Shared lock. Shared lock means any number of processes can work on the same area by sharing that particular thing. So when is sharing possible? If all the users want to read the data, sharing is possible because data is not changed. Any number of people can actually try to read. All the processes are going to get the same data. No issue. The problem comes only when you allow one process to make changes, another process to read the data. Because if that change doesn't happen at an atomic level, then the change may happen so that only a part of the change is applied on one area, but after that scheduling happens, it switches to another program, and that fellow can try to read, and he is not getting neither the old data nor the new data. He is getting a part of it old data, a part of it new data. That is not a consistent state. That's what you really mean by. So that's why you can apply any number of shared locks on a region, but you cannot get like a lock when some other exclusive lock is already applied on it. Anyhow, so this is what is called as read lock or shared lock. f_setlk is reading lock or shared lock. The other one is set lkw, write lock. You want to apply some changes, or it is also called as exclusive lock. You want to have exclusive access to that particular thing. No other program can get access to that, meaning that even to read the data or even as a shared kind of thing is not allowed. So these are the three types of commands that one can give against the FCNTL against the second parameter. But after that, anyhow, you have to appropriately initialize the fields within this struct flock before executing the FCNTL kind of thing. That's what we are actually slowly trying to understand. So what are the fields that are there within the struct F lock? So these are the fields. Yeah, what type of lock you want to apply, right? So within the struct F lock again, what is the type of the lock you want to apply? In the sense you want to know or apply or whatever. And then, so how do you identify the region? Are you going to identify the region with respect to, are you going to identify the region with respect to the beginning of the file, with respect to the current position, or with respect to the end of the file? Those are the three things. Just like you have LC kind of thing, that is how it is actually. And then what is the start, right, of the area of the file that you want to apply the lock? And from there, how many bytes? From there, from that starting position, how many bytes are to be applied the lock? And because you are trying to apply a lock on a region, on a part of a file. And this is the process ID. Essentially, this you have to fill only when, like, you don't have to fill actually this particular thing. This PID, L underscore PID will be filled by the file control, FCNTL system call. Because whenever you try to get the status of a lock, then in case some other process has already applied the lock on that area, then that process ID is going to be filled here. You don't have to fill, but when you try to call the FCNTL, that will fill this L underscore PID. And based on that, you get to know, oh, this process having so and so ID is having the log on that particular area of the file. So these are the different fields that are available. And then as you can see, each type here, each field, whatever that are there, what kind of values can be stored. Because L underscore type is a log type. Then, so log type means like some constants are there actually. So instead of remembering the constant values like 0, 1, 2, because it's confusing. So there are constants or macros are actually initialized here. So L underscore type can be initialized with F underscore RD read log or a shared log. You have to initialize with this particular value whenever you want to get a shared log or read log. So it is understandable naturally. So combination with this read log and there try to get the status of the corresponding by using F underscore get LK, then it's going to fill the corresponding structure with process ID or whatever. As you can see, if any process has a shared lock, then no process will be able to get an exclusive lock on that region, right? It's natural. So any number of processes can get the shared lock, but no other exclusive lock is going to be sanctioned on that. In order to obtain a shared lock, the file must have been opened with read or read-write access. Anyhow, so whenever you want to apply unlocking on a particular area, so F underscore unLCK. And if you want to apply exclusive lock, you say F underscore W or LCK. Right? These are the things. It's only a single process may have an exclusive access, natural, on any particular region. Once a process has such a lock, no other process will be able to get any sort of lock. Right? So if you want to obtain exclusive lock, the file must have been opened with write or read-write access. Because you are trying to make changes, writing permission must be there on that particular thing. Whereas, if you want to have only shared lock kind of thing, you can open the file either in read mode or read-write mode. No issue, right? Either way is fine. And L underscore vens, it can be initialized with one of these three values. Three values are there from the beginning, from the current position, from the end of the file. If it is from the beginning, you have to initialize L underscore vens with seek underscore set. Seek underscore set means from the beginning of the file. Seek underscore CUR means from the current position of the file. Seek underscore end from the end of the file. The start is understood or is interpreted. That is what you really mean by. right? So other parameters you already understood. And as you can see, L underscore PID parameter you use for reporting the process holding a log, right? So F underscore get LK description will actually help you to understand how it is going to actually work on that. So F underscore get LK, this is the actual thing, like how things are going to help, all that he is actually trying to explain, right? It's a very simple thing. The calling process passes information about the type of the log, and then this is a command that you are going to give. These are the various ways. So L underscore type, naturally, if you want to apply the like what it is, shared lock, it is going to be F underscore RDLCK. If you want to apply exclusive lock, it is going to be F underscore WRLCK. Unlocking, no issue, right? You can always apply unlock, no issue. So that means only your process is applying the unlock. If some other process has already applied the lock, you can't unlock what it is, an area of a region, like a lock that is already applied by other process cannot be unlocked by your process, right? Only the process which has applied the lock only can unlock it, right? So that's what you will have to understand. Because multiple processes can apply shared lock. There may be 10 processes that are already given locks, shared locks. So if one process is removing that lock, it doesn't mean that that area is unlocked completely. That area is unlocked only by that particular process. The other process locks are still there, right? So that's what you will have to understand. So, and other things, you can easily understand what's going on there and all that. So how to interpret when something is, when you invoke FCNTL, if the F underscore get LK call is successful, right? That particular command, if it is successful, what do you mean by successful? If it returns a value other than -1. If it returns -1, it is failed. So otherwise, if it is successful, the calling application must check the contents of flock structure to determine whether it is modified or not. Because if it is not modified, that means you have access, you can apply the lock. If it is modified, why is that it is modified? It is modified because some other some other process is holding the lock on that, and that process ID is going to be filled into a flock structure. That is what is being talked about here. The contents of the flock structure to determine whether it is modified or not, right? If FGetLK call is successful, then it doesn't mean that you can apply the lock. It is successful only. So that you have to now examine a flock structure whether process ID is modified or not. Since the L underscore PID value is set to the locking process, this is a convenient field to check. So that's what you will have to actually examine. After calling F underscore get LK, examine the whether it is successful or failed by from the return value. If it is -1, it has failed. You want to get the information. If it is not -1, it is successful. Either it has got the information that other process is having the lock, or you are free there. So you have to now verify whether that flock structure data is modified or not. Similarly, set LK in order to apply a lock. What kind of values can be there in L underscore type structure? It can be any of these three, because now you want to apply the lock. Earlier command only to know the lock, whether it is applied or not, kind of thing. So here, the lock type can be any one of these three types, either shared lock, exclusive lock, or if a lock is already there, remove the lock by using unlock, right? Unlock the corresponding. These are the three types of values. So L underscore PID is never used because it is only going to be filled by F underscore get LK. So that we'll have to understand. So remember now, so essentially the function always returns immediately, right? So it doesn't wait. F underscore settle k will immediately return. And what it returns a value other than -1, then it is possible for you to apply the lock. If it returns a failure, a -1 is going to be returned. Remember that. So if it is not equal to -1, it is possible to apply the lock. If it is equal to -1, you cannot apply the corresponding thing. Somebody is holding that or whatever, that kind of stuff. So, whereas there is another similar kind of thing called as f underscore set lkw command. The earlier one is only to know, it is not applying the lock there. You can get to know f underscore set lk to know whether it is possible to apply a lock or not. So, whereas in f, so that's why it immediately returns, no issue. Whereas f underscore set lkw, its main purpose is to apply the lock. If it is not possible for you to apply the lock at this moment, it will wait. That means it's a blocking system call. It will wait till such time it can get access to the corresponding lock. So that you will have to understand. The basic difference between set LK and set LKW is one is a blocking one, the other one is non-blocking one. One is a waiting one, the other one is a non-waiting one. That you will have to understand. So it's the same as set LK, except that if it cannot obtain the lock, the call will wait. Once the call has started waiting, it will return only when the lock can be obtained or a signal occurs. Signals is a different thing. An interruption kind of signal is nothing but a kind of an interruption. So whenever an interrupt kind of thing comes, you have to handle that by using interrupt handler or signal handler, right? So that's the only way in which the it's going to be disturbed. That's what is being talked about. Okay, so that's the kind of thing. And then after applying all that, you can now perform reading and writing kind of thing. So as far as reading and writing is concerned, you have to apply some caution here. So it's always advisable to use only the low-level system call IO functions, like read and write system calls only are to be used. And remember, all this is an advisory thing only. That means you are writing program by following certain ground rules. So use only read and write system calls whenever you are performing file locking on certain areas and all that. Don't use like your fscanf or fread, printf, fwrite, that kind of thing, because all those library functions, they perform buffering, meaning that they might have read more than what they require actually. In the sense, not into your variable, but into a buffer area actually. So next time when you really read data, it doesn't again read from the file. It is likely to get the data from the buffer area. So it's not going to like the locking is not going to be appropriately behave in that particular scenario. So use only read and write system calls as a part of it. So that's very, very important. Now let us go ahead and then look into log3.c, the very first program. So I'm just trying to understand like how all of you are placed. 13 hours, 11 hours, okay. All right. So the header files are to be included in the very beginning. That is understandable. And then what is the file that means what is the largest file that you have, right? You are trying to simulate now, right? You are trying to simulate a largest possible file. So the file name is /tmp/test_log. Now you are not going to open an exclusive mode, a file and all that. You will be opening that file either in read mode, write mode, or read write mode. So that kind of stuff. So most of the time we will be using read write mode, so that it is like you can get any kind of lock on a read write open file kind of thing. So now, as you can see, so what is being attempted here is the following. Is the following. So this kind of scenario you are trying to create. So you assume that your file contains 100 bytes of data, 100 bytes of data. Is that? And then what are you doing? You are trying to apply a shade lock on the file area between 10 and 30 characters. Starting from 10, 20 bytes are actually a lock is applied. It is shade lock. F underscore RDLCK. A shade lock is applied on 20 bytes starting from 10th area with respect to the beginning of the file. Similarly, an exclusive lock is applied on the area starting from 40th byte for about 10 bytes there. So this scenario you are actually trying to create. So if you run this particular program for the first time, you are going to get all these things, no issue. You run the same thing once again by any chance, you can get the shade lock. There should not be any issue. But exclusive lock, if you again try to run, naturally, because already one process is holding this, then the other process is not going to be allowed to apply this particular lock. That's what we are trying to simulate now, right? So let us now look into the code, how things are actually done. It's a very simple program actually. The only thing is, because the structure has got a number of fields, to initialize all those fields, it is taking more lines of code. Otherwise, it's a very simple program. So now what are you going to do? You have to create a file with this particular thing, /tmp/test underscore log. So it is a main function, a file descriptor, then some other variables of interest, byte count or whatever. Because now you are creating a file by storing the character capital A in the entire file. Some data must be there, right? So he is actually trying to create a file with 100 bytes of data, where all the 100 bytes are going to be capital A only. It is a kind of some simulation. So what is the byte to write is capital A. And now you want to apply two different locks. We could have so region 1 and region 2. So you are declaring that struct flog region 1. This is a variable to store struct flog kind of data. Struct flog, this is another variable, right? And then int result. Normally we get the result after calling a system call. That's what it is. Now it is straightforward, right? How do you open a file? You already know it. So file descriptor equal to open of the corresponding file name. So which is there. And then what? How do you want to open it? You want to open this file in a read-write mode. And then bitwise OR with open create. There no exclusive access, as you can see. Because multiple programs can try to open this file. So all the programs are allowed to open the file for read-write mode. So only create is there. If at all it is not there, you create. If it is already there, don't create. That's the meaning of this O underscore create means. If the file is already there, don't again create it. If the file is not there, you create the file. That's the meaning of this particular bitwise OR operator kind of thing. And then 666 means the mode of the file is being read-write. Reading and writing is possible on that. Here, this is actually wrong. This particular statement is wrong. All of you alert, it's not correct. If not, file descriptor is not correct. You must use if file descriptor double equals -1. Open is going to fail if it returns -1. It's not a fopen kind of thing. If it is null value return kind of thing, then not null is okay. So somehow the book is that kind of simple mistakes will be there. Maybe the book might have actually, author might have corrected it in later editions. or he might have suggested in his what you call website, that kind of thing. So what is that you have to do now here? Don't use this not file descriptor. Use file if file descriptor double equals -1. That is the change that all of you need to understand. So whenever it has failed, then it returns -1 and you are verifying. And then what are you saying? You have printf of display the error message onto standard error. That is what you are doing. You have printf of stdr standard error unable to open %s whatever file name for read write purpose. Display this message onto standard error and then exit the corresponding exit of exit failure. Curly brace closure. It is a very simple thing. Whenever it fails to open the file, simply do that. In our scenario, it doesn't happen. But as a part of the program code, you are writing that particular thing. And after successful opening of that, initialize like the entire file with capital A. How are you doing that? For byte count equal to 0, byte count less than 100, byte count plus plus. So that means 0 to 100. 100 is not included. That means 0 to 99, altogether 100 bytes. So what are you doing? Write the capital A onto that. So write off file descriptor, comma, byte to write. What is the byte to write? What is the data type of the byte to write? It should be a pointer. Because for write system call, you have to provide the starting address of the array, right? From where the data is to be written. So you need to give the pointer to character. So that's the reason why here, as you can see, char star byte to write is equal to, as you can see, within double quotes. Don't use single quote here. It is a string, not a character constant. So string capital A. So that means, so byte to write is a pointer to character. So you are passing on the starting address of that array, you can say actually. So only one character you are writing. So write off this entire thing. This is only to be more careful kind of thing because it is likely to return a value and you are not using that. You are typecasting it. Even if you don't use it also, still it's going to work. Only thing is very robust professional programs, you need to actually give this kind of thing whereby it doesn't generate any warnings also, in fact. So all that. So you know that it returns a value and you are avoiding the usage of the value. That's what you really mean by typecasting that to void. So at the end of this loop, the file is written with the capital A 100 times. That is what happened. So now what is to be done? You want to apply the logs on those areas as we have just now seen. Right? So what are the areas? So this is the kind of thing actually. So you are applying read log or shade log on 20 bytes starting from 10th byte. Similarly, you are applying exclusive log or is also called write log on the area starting from 40th byte. 40 to 50. That's what you really mean by. So it is straightforward. First, now you have to apply, you have to find out what is the area. So region 1 dot log type equal to what? Read log. Log type equal to read log. And then region 1 dot L1 is equal to what? Seek underscore set. That means from the beginning of the file, the following data is meaningful. Region 1 dot L start equal to 10, starting from 10th byte. And region 1 dot length equal to 20 bytes. Starting from the 10th byte, 20 bytes are going to be log for shade log kind of thing. So after doing all this, you are also initializing the second region also. This could have been you could have used the region 1 and that also is possible in fact. But you are also initializing the second region. What is the purpose of the second region? You are trying to apply the write log. So you say region 2 dot L type is f underscore WRLCK. When say seek set dot is for t and then length is 10 bytes. So we have initialized both the things. Now you are trying to apply the locks, right? So before applying, you are also printing some message so that you understand while running the program what is going on, which part of the area of the code is running, all that you will get to know. So printf process %d locking the file. So you also get to know which process. How do you identify the process? From the process ID, naturally. So you say get PID, returns the process ID. So process number so and so is locking the file. That's what you really mean by. Now you have to invoke the fcntl system call. So fcntl of file descriptor comma. What is the command? Because you don't want to know the information about the log. You want to apply the log. So if you want to apply the log, you have to use command like f underscore set lk. If you want to know it, you have to say f underscore get lk. So now it is f underscore set lk, comma. What is to be applied? Like the third parameter is the address of the structure. You have to pass on. So you say ampersand region underscore 1. Simple. Now, to know whether it is successful or not, return value is useful, res. If res equal to -1, it is unsuccessful in applying so and so lock. So you display the message of printf standard error failed to lock region 1. Similarly, you are applying the second lock, fcntl of file descriptor comma set lk comma region 2, and it is returning the result. If this result happens to be -1, simply say display the message failed to lock region 2. But before this, you are saying here process so and so is locking the file. He is making an attempt to lock the file, right? And then you are getting all these error messages, whatever. After doing all this, now you wait for certain enough period, sleep for 60 seconds, so that you can run other commands that will also try to apply the locks on the same file, probably on the same areas also. That's the reason why you are actually sleeping here. You are initiating sleeping. So that you can write multiple programs. One program trying to maybe create the file, initialize all the data, apply some locks, and then wait here. You can write another program now, which is going to open the same large file and is already created, in fact, and try to apply locks of your interest, right? Maybe with the same areas or maybe with different areas. How it is going to behave, you are going to see actually. So that's all. It's as simple as this actually. So sleep for 60 seconds, and at the end, you also say that this process is closing. So printf process so and so is closing the file. What do you mean by that? If you close a file, all the locks that are applied on that particular file by this program will automatically be unlocked. So that if other program is trying to apply a lock on some other area, the moment this fellow closes, that fellow is likely to get corresponding lock and proceed further. All that we can examine now by writing several other programs. That is the idea behind. So after that, close the file descriptor, exit and all that. Right? It's a very simple, small program which you can easily run. So whenever you run it, what happens? It is creating the file, it is initializing it, it is applying the locks. But waiting for 60 seconds, remember. It is waiting for 60 seconds. So what do you do? What are we going to do it? We will run this program in the background so that we can run other programs in the foreground. Before that 60 seconds is over. So that already locks are applied by this, and this is in effect, and other program in the foreground you are trying to run. And that is how a kind of a parallelism, a kind of a, right, is being simulated, right? In concurrently, both the things are happening. Okay, so by running that particular program, this scenario is going to be created. This scenario is going to be created on that. So So in this example, you will write. So as you can see now, if you want to test that particular thing, what are you doing? Trying to do it. So you have to naturally run that particular program in the background. We must now write another program that will try to also try to acquire the logs on the same program, same file rather, same file as a part of it. So second program that you will be writing is log4.c. The previous one is log3.c. Now log4.c is going to be the following one. Here also we will be doing the same thing by and large. Let us see what it is going to do it. So you are initializing or you are including all the header files, and the test file, if you see, it should be the same file. It should be the same file /tmp/test_log, right? Which is already created by the third file. What do you mean by that? Log3.c. Log3.c. So here he is just trying to define certain constants. What he is going to do is actually he is trying to apply the logs on the entire area in terms of 5 bytes of locking area. 5 bytes starting from the beginning of the file. 5 bytes are going to be locked. Another 5 bytes from fifth area, fifth starting position. 0 to 5, one lock. 5 to 10, another lock. Right? So 10 to 15, another lock. Like that, he is going to make an attempt. So that where he is going to be successful and where he is going to fail. You can make an attempt, right? That's what you really mean by. So the size of the area is determined by this as defined size to try with 5 values. And then he's writing one small function called show lock information, because whenever you try to get the lock information, you get certain details, so and so process is already holding the lock. So we have to now display that information, because there are so many fields within the structure. So instead of writing every time so many lines, we are writing one small function, pass the structure to that function. That fellow will print all the fields within that. That is the idea. So show lock information returns nothing, void, but it takes as a parameter a pointer to a structure, so that you can print the details about that particular structure later on. Okay, so now the main function, int file descriptor, int result, structure, region to test. What is the area that you would like to verify or whatever, and then what is the starting byte, int start byte. Now it's going to be straightforward. First, before applying the logs and all that, you have to open the file, right? So here that's what you are doing. File descriptor equal to open of test file, same test file for reading writing purpose with a create mechanism. If it is not there, you create kind of thing. So and then 0 all this. Strictly speaking, actually create is not required even if it is not there, still it will work. Create should be there for the log3.c, because if it is not there, you create, otherwise you use it kind of thing. Whereas here this log4 is not creating the file, it's not initializing the file with the data and all that. So appropriate thing here is, even with create also it will work, no issue, but you remove this also it will work, remember that, right? So even if you remove this, still it's going to work. The only problem is, maybe this is going to fail, but even if it is successful, if the file is not there at all, no data is there, then all these things is meaningless. So that's why normally, you can see, you remove this also, no issue, kind of. Okay. So and then mode is so and so whatever, and here again the same error is reporting. So this should not be not file descriptor. It should be file descriptor equal to double equals -1. Remember that. File descriptor double equals -1. And then you are displaying all this. This is understandable. Now what is to be done? You are now trying to apply the logs on the entire file area in terms of 5 bytes each, and then examine what is going to happen, what kind of return values are you going to get. So that's the idea. So for start byte equal to 0, start byte less than 99, start byte plus equal to size to try. Size to try is 5 actually. You can try with any other values. It doesn't matter. Now what are you doing? You are trying to apply both the like exclusive lock as well as the shared lock. Are you going to get an exclusive lock or are you going to get the shared lock on a particular area? Because already the other program is running. So with respect to that, are you going to, is it possible to apply this particular lock? That's the idea. So initialize the region to test or structure with appropriate values. First, you are actually verifying whether exclusive lock is possible or not on this particular area. So you say f underscore write lock with respect to starting from the beginning, seek underscore start. And then what is the starting position? Starting position is indicated by start byte, this particular byte. That means what? It is going to execute this 20 times. And then the first time that it goes through the for loop, start byte is 0. The next time it goes through the loop, start byte is 5 actually. And then 10, 15, and so on like that. So start byte is so and so. But how many bytes from there are to be applied? The length of the data is going to be size to try. That many bytes you are applying, L underscore LER. PID is meaningless as we know, right? So you initialize this with -1, and whenever you fail to get that, this structure is going to be initialized, is going to be modified, and L underscore PID would have been the process ID of the other process that is holding the lock currently. That is holding the current lock currently as a part of it. So after initializing this for, now you are going to verify for write lock. Is it possible or not? So you are displaying a message here, printf, testing write lock on region from so-and-so to so-and-so number. From so-and-so to so-and-so means what? From start byte to start byte plus size to try. I think all of you are following. So you are trying to display a message saying that I am trying to apply an exclusive lock or write lock on this particular region. So is it possible or not? It is possible or not depending upon the area of the file, because the other program, if at all it is running, already 2 areas, already locks are applied. On the same areas, if you try to again get, naturally you won't get. For example, from 10 to 30, from the bytes from 10 to 30, already shared lock is holding. So if any lock is holding, write lock is not possible. Right? Write lock is not, you are not going to be permitted. So that's what you are basically verifying. Definitely from 0 to 5, no lock is applied by the previous program. It's going to be successful from 0 to 5. 5 to 10 also is going to be successful. But after that, 10 to 15, then we'll have to examine. Right? So that's what is being talked about here. So display the message. And after that, invoke the FCNTL. FCNTL of file descriptor, comma, what? You are not applying the log. You are trying to get the status. Right? Is it possible to apply so-and-so log? So that's why you are using f underscore get lk. And then ampersand region to test. If res equal to -1, get lk is failed. Normally you don't get this. If it is -1, it is failed. FCNTL itself is failed for whatever reason. What reason it can be? Most likely your file descriptor may be wrong, right? So anything else is possible, basically. So file itself may not be there. So all those related areas. But if the res is not equal to -1, then you have to now verify whether process ID is changed or not. If the process ID is changed, so that means that process is holding the lock. So now you can see here, if region to test.lpid is not equal to -1, because you have already initialized with -1, it is not equal to -1. What do you mean? The other process is holding. So that process ID also you can get to know. So you can display now. So lock would fail and f underscore get LK return. So on the structure, whatever that you have applied, it's not possible for you to get such kind of a lock. That's what you are actually saying. And display the corresponding information. What information? Which process is currently holding that? You can get to know now from the process ID. So you are displaying the corresponding information. So lock info of ampersand region to test. Whenever it fails to get the log, then you are trying to find the reason for the failure, meaning that another process is holding the corresponding log, and that process ID can be displayed. So if PID is not changed, that means it is possible for you to get the log. So else f underscore WR LCK log would succeed on this particular region. On this particular region, lock will succeed, no issue. So it is as simple as this. This is for write lock. Similarly, you apply shared lock or read lock kind of thing and print another line of this thing. So here, these are the things. Repeat the same test with the different data. So region to test dot log type is RDLCK from the beginning of the file, dot byte value, size to try, PID is -1. So again, display the message. Testing read log on so and so area. So on the same area, you are testing both shared log as well as you are not applying any new logs. You are only testing, knowing whether it is possible or not. So here again, FCNTL or ELT, all that, get LK, right? This you have to understand. If it is -1, get LK fail. Otherwise, if LPID is not equal to -1, then log would fail, right? So then display. And if it is not equal to -1, then this. If it is equal to -1, L underscore PID, that means structure is not changed. If the structure is not changed, means that it is possible for you to apply the lock. So you say F underscore RDLCK lock would succeed. And then close the file descriptor, close this. It's a very simple program, as all of you appreciate. And this is the actual function for displaying the structure. It is very straightforward. Show lock info of all this. Because this is a pointer to the structure, you have to use the pointer notation to access the fields. So printf a tab followed by L type %d comma what. So this is the variable of the structure. Structure variable is 2 underscore 2. And to access the field, you use the pointer notation. Hyphen greater than. Hyphen greater than. Had it been a structure normally, not a pointer, then you can use dot notation. But it is a pointer. Right here, in fact, you can use even without pointer also, it's possible. Most of the times, whenever it is structures, we try to use pointers because the size of the pointer is always fixed. So the data that is to be passed from from the calling to caller is going to be always fixed kind of thing. Whereas if you say structure itself, then the structure size will be very big. So you have to pass all the data, all the fields within the structure, all of them, entire structure is to be passed. That's why many times, even though here you are not modifying, right? Normal scenario is whenever you want to modify a particular variable, only then you should pass on a pointer because you need to make changes to that. But if it is only you are trying to access the values, you are not changing. A variable is good enough, not a pointer. But when it comes to structures, because structure can be of variable size, there may be any number of fields. So passing a structure, it's going to take lots of time. So many values are to be copied. Whenever you pass any value, right? You have to copy the entire structure from your actual parameter to the formal parameter. and that takes time if the size of the structure is big. That's why it's always a good idea to pass the pointer itself, even though you are not making any changes. So that's why here a star is actually used. And then the notations are to be appropriately used. Now, how are you going to test these programs, these two programs? One is the log3, the other one is log4. So first run the log3 program in the background. So that's what is being done here. Run the log3 program in the background. So what it is saying, its process ID is 1534. And it is actually saying locking file. For how long will it run? It will run for a minimum of 60 seconds because a sweep is put at the end. So before that 60 seconds is over, you run this log4 also. Then you know that whatever locks that log3 has applied, right, on those areas you get different results, right? On the other area you get the same, like because on the area where you have not applied any locks by log3, this log4 can get both exclusive lock as well as shared lock on the other areas. That's why you are actually trying to run log4 here, /log4. When you run this, what is the likely output? You can see here, testing f underscore wr log on region from 0 to 5. This is what we have written the program. There is a loop, a for loop is running 20 times, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, like that. So it is now testing on write lock on source. F underscore WRLK lock would succeed because 0 to 5, log3 has not done anything. So log4 can get the lock, corresponding lock. So lock would succeed. Similarly, read lock, region from 0 to 5. This also would succeed, naturally. Similarly, from 5 to 10 also the same output you will get. 5 to 10 also you will get the same output. That's why he has put 3 dots here. He has not put the entire output because it will take unnecessarily space there. That's why he is putting dot, dot, dot. But from 10 to 15 now, because 10 to 15 log3 program also has applied. Now you will get different results. That's what is being talked about here. Testing f underscore wr log on region from 10 to 15. 10 to 15 was already shared lock is there. If a shared lock is there on that, you want to get an exclusive lock, you can't get it, right? So that's why here you can see lock would fail. And f underscore get lk return. Lock would fail means what? You have to now display the corresponding information. So that's why you are getting the information also. What is the lock type? Lock type is 0. 0 means maybe WR underscore WR lock value is 0 there. That's what you really mean. Lock type is 0. Starting from the beginning, L1 is 0. L start is 10. L length is 20. And what is the process that is holding this? 1534. 1534 is your log3 program. Your log3 program is 1534. So when log4 is running, it is able to know that 1534 is holding a lock on this particular thing. Right? So that's how it is. Similarly, now you have only tested on the write lock. Now shared lock, testing shared lock on region from 10 to 15. 10 to 30, 20 bytes, only shared lock is applied by the log3. So that means any number of other users also, other programs also can get shared lock, no issue. Exclusive lock you can't get. That's why, as you can see, f underscore rd lock would succeed. It's possible for you to get the lock on that. Right? It is as simple as that, 10 to 15. 15 to 20 also same output you should get. Lock would fail, and same this thing, except that these values will be different. Start value will be different. 15 to 20. And then he is putting dot, 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 because right up to 30, basically. 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30 also same output you will get. Lock would fail from 25 to 30. because from 10 to 30 already lock is applied by lock 3 program. Now after that, if you see, from 30 to 35, right, and 35 to 40, it's possible for you to get the lock. That's why he has not put any output on that, dot, dot, dot. Exactly, you will get similar output as that of 0 to 5 kind of thing. So that kind of thing. Whereas now 40 to 45, what are you going to get? That's what you are trying to do it. Testing f underscore WR lock on region from 40 to 45. 40 to 45, lock 3 has applied the exclusive lock. The exclusive lock is already there on 40 to 45. So no other program is allowed to get any kind of lock. Even shared lock also is not possible. So you can see here, testing a WR lock from 40 to 45, it will fail. Then what are the details? Lock type is 1 now. Lock type is 1. So, and then like all these things. In the sense that, so already 1 means actually write lock. 0 means it is read lock. So here, so the existing lock is being given to you now. 1534 has applied read lock on this particular area. That's what you really mean by. So L type is 1 means write lock actually, exclusive lock. So already exclusive lock is there from 40 to 50 applied by 1534. That's the reason why write lock is not possible. Not only that, even read lock also is not possible because exclusive lock is already there on that. So testing FRD lock on region from 40 to 45, lock would fail. Lock would fail because already exclusive lock is applied on that particular area. Even shared lock also is not possible on that. So like that, right? It will continue like that and so on, right up to 95 to 100. 95 to 100. So it's going to continue in this particular manner. I think all of you are following what's going on. And in fact, I asked you to go through that and so on. And once the program lock 4 has completed, you need to wait for a short period for lock 3 to complete. Let's sleep or whatever is there. That is about lock 3 and lock 4. Lock 5 is there now, competing locks. Competing locks. So this is another program actually. Lock 4, what are you doing? You are only trying to get the information. You are not applying new locks. Right? You are only trying to get them. In lock 5, what you do? You will also try to apply new lock on your own areas or whatever. Lock 3 is there. Lock 3 is the basic thing. You run lock 3. Lock 3 will create the file, initialize the file, and then apply some locks from 10 to 30 and 40 to 50. Lock 4 will only get the status. Lock 5 now, it will also apply its own lock, right? Whether that's going to be possible or not. So that kind of thing. So for that, again, same thing. So include all the header files, and then this is the corresponding file, same file name, /tmp/test log, and then the main function, declare the file descriptor and declare the file log structure, and then result. File descriptor could open off test file, open read write, and bitwise or with ocreate and all that. So this error is still there. So again, this should be replaced by file descriptor =−1. That should be there. And then you display the message and all that. Now you can easily understand what is going on. So what he is trying to do is, now let us see. So the remainder of the whatever. First, let us understand what are the values that he is trying to initialize. The lock type is read lock. He is trying to apply a read lock on something. So from where? From the beginning, he's saying 10 to from 10 to 15. Starting from 10, 5 bytes. That means he is trying to apply a read lock from 10 to 15. Already lock 3 also has applied. From 10 to 30 itself, a read lock is already there. So 10 to 15 read lock, is it possible? It should be possible to get the lock. There only we got the information. Whereas now here, you might even try to apply the lock. You should be able to apply the lock also without having any issue. That's what you are trying to do it. Printf process so and so, your own process, trying f underscore rd lock, region from so and so to so and so. So what is the value? Get PID. Get PID. This number is going to be filled, and starting value is region to log dot start, and then region to log dot L start plus start. So this entire thing you understand. Only some display message you are displaying. And now earlier we tested with get LK. Command used to be get LK, whereas now it is command is set LK. That means you are trying to really apply the lock. If the lock is possible to apply, you are going to even apply it, right? That's what you are actually doing. Sorry. So the command is going to be fcntl of file descriptor. In the lock code, we used to say get LK, whereas now you are saying f underscore set LK. And then the corresponding address of the structure. If this is failed for some reason, you get -1. So you say if result equal to -1, process so and so failed to log the region. Simple. Your own process has failed to apply the lock. If it is not -1, that means it is successful. So you say process so and so obtain the log on so and so region. Simple. So on different areas, you are trying to do like that. So from 10 to 15, because log 3 has already applied a shared log, so this program also is trying to apply a shared log on a common area. Definitely it should be successful. It should succeed. No issue. Similarly, the second one now. Second one is unlock. You are trying to apply the unlock. Right? So again, same thing. So you say alpha it is unlock from the beginning of the file from 10th byte 5 bytes. Because just now you have applied a shared lock. So you are again doing unlocking. Definitely it should be possible. If by any chance, if you have got access to that particular thing, definitely it should be possible as a part of that. So you are again saying, trying to unlock this particular region. So again display all the message. File control, descriptor, file f underscore set LK, and then region to this. If res is -1, do all that, and so on. There are more number of initialization of the structure rather than the actual logic. There is hardly any big logic here. But there is some concept you are trying to understand. What if multiple programs try to apply the lock? What will happen? That's what we are actually trying to understand. Fail to unlock or successful in unlocking, whatever. That is the idea. Whereas now again you are trying to unlock a different area actually now, from 0 to 50 altogether. 0 to 50, you are trying to apply the unlock. So this particular program, like, is trying to unlock the entire thing, 0 to 50, as a part of it. So again, display all that, run this particular thing. If it is -1, you say its unlocking is failed. Otherwise, all that. Similarly, shared lock, exclusive lock, from 16 to 21, where already a shared lock is already there by lock 3. Is it possible for us to get a right lock? It's not possible. Exclusive lock is not possible. And at the same time, this f underscore set LK is not a blocking one. It will immediately return without actually applying the lock. It will immediately return. Right? The difference between set LK and set LKW is that this fellow will immediately return with failure, whereas the other one will return, will wait till it can actually apply the lock. So even that also is going to be tested here. So these numbers can be anything, 16 to 21. So some common area you are trying to test that particular thing. Similarly, and then read lock, as you can see, on the area from 40 to 50. Because 40 to 50 already the other program has applied the exclusive lock. So it means this fellow will not be allowed. Even the shared lock also is not possible. So you are even testing that particular scenario. 40 to 50, you are again doing set underscore LK. He will fail naturally. Then like she said, 16 to 21 here again, right lock, you are applying. But remember, right lock we tried from 16 to 21, probably even earlier. Even earlier we have tried, but without waiting. Set LK we tried. But later you are trying with set LKW. Those small differences you have to understand. Right? The call will be different. Here, FCNTL or file descriptor command will be set LKW. So that this fellow will really wait until, right, a lock is possible with this particular. When is that this fellow can get like exclusive lock from 16 to 21? Only when the other fellow releases lock. That means lock 3 you are running, lock 5 also you will be running. Lock 3 will close after some time, right? 60 seconds only that fellow will run. So after 60 seconds, lock 3 will close the file. Along with that, it's going to unlock all the locks on that particular file, and that fellow will terminate the program. The moment the lock 3 is over, then this fellow is going to get access to the corresponding lock. So that means he is made to wait until lock 3 fellow is going to complete. Whereas simply set LK means it will come out and say that no, it's not possible to get the lock. Whereas LKW, you make the FCNTL to actually wait. So here, fail to lock, this you will not get, but you will get obtained a lock on the region after waiting for quite a long time, right? So process is ending after that and all that. How are you going to test it? Simple. Run the lock3 program first in the background. First you have to run the lock3 program in the background. And then you have to run the lock5 program in the foreground. The moment you run lock3 in the background, it is displaying the process ID, 227. So 227 has applied the locks on file so and so from 10 to 30. Read lock is there, 40 to 50. Exclusive lock is there. So now the output of lock 5 you will see here. Output of lock 5 you are seeing. So process 227 locking the file. Process 227 locking the file. And then actually this you won't get again. This particular thing you won't get. This is already there here. Process 227 locking the file is already there. What you will get is this particular following line onwards. So, but remember the same output you won't get. Your process IDs, in case you test your all these programs, process IDs will be different, but the remaining thing will be same. You will get different process IDs for different people when you are running, right? So just as an example, these numbers you need to understand. So 227 process ID means lock 3 program. 228 means lock 5 program. So lock 5 program now, as you can see, trying offer RD lock from region 10 to 15. RD lock is possible, definitely. So 228 is saying obtain the lock on the region. Again 228 trying unlock from 10 to 15. Because the same fellow has applied the read lock, so you are unlocking that. Unlocking also is possible. Trying to unlock from region 0 to 50. So unlock the region. So this fellow, like this particular process, is unlocking the entire region from 0 to 50. That is also allowed. Only for this particular, you cannot unlock the lock applied by other process. Remember that. So there will be many locks on the same area by different processes. So that's why any process can apply the unlock without having any issue. That is going to be successful here. So trying unlock region 0 to 50, unlock the region. No issue. So trying right lock from 0 to 16 to 21. Already lock 3 is running. So that means from 10 to 40 or 10 to 30, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. 10 to 30, shared lock is there. So that means shared lock is there on this area. So is it possible for you to get right lock? No. So fail to lock on region, naturally. failed to lock on region from 16 to 21. Is it possible for you to get the read lock from region 40 to 50? Already exclusive lock is there by lock 3. So you get failed to lock on this particular region. 40 to 50. Read lock is not possible. Now you are trying with write lock with waiting. So 228 is trying write lock with wait from region 16 to 21. You see now, you are seeing the output after that. There will be a lot of waiting time here. And then after some time, you will see this particular output. Process 227 closing the file. Meaning that sleep 60 is completed there. Sleep 60 complete means then you are closing the file. You are also closing or unlocking all the locks. So naturally, locks are free now. So this 228 fellow is going to get now the message, obtain the lock on the region. Which region? Region from 16 to 21. 228 is able to get lock or exclusive lock or write lock from region 16 to 21. And after that, 228 is it. So this is how a kind of a scenario is created whereby what if multiple programs try to apply locks on the common areas? How are you going to see the functioning and all that is very well written by these 3 different programs there as a part of that. So any questions, like are you able to follow it or what's going on? Are you all there? Not there or what?
Following, sir.
Okay, wonderful. So just go through the same textbook. It's there. I think these files are shared to you in the Google Drive. Do it once again as a part of that. So other lock commands and all that, meaning that this is how anyhow, like you can do by using the FCNTL kind of thing. But there is another library function called lockf actually. Instead of using FCNTL, you can also use lockf. But you should not mix both. In the same program, you should not mix in some areas FCNTL, in some areas lockf and all that. Either you follow lockf technique or you follow FCNTL technique to apply the locks on regions of the files. First method is FCNTL, which we have discussed at length in so many programs. Whereas the other approach is lockf. It is a simple approach, but remember, like this is a signature of that. Right? It is there in unistd.h. Signature of this is lockf of file descriptor, comma, what is the kind of lock you want to apply and from where you want to apply. It's not from where, but it is the size actually, sorry. So how much, like how many bytes are to be locked. So from where is not talked about. From where is always fixed here in the lockf. It is always with respect to the current position. Lockf will apply the locks with respect to the current position always. So that's why you have to specify how many bytes from the current position ought to be locked. So before calling this lockf, in other words, you have to first seek your file position to that particular location by using lseek. By using lseek, you must first move to the area, the starting area from where the lock is to be applied. Whereas in the other like FCNTL, you are able to specify both the starting area as well as the size. So with respect to what and all that particular thing. So this is meaning is somewhat slightly different. And what are the corresponding here? Function means it's not a function actually. This is equivalent to command only, right? So it's not a function pointer. It is an integer value. Remember that. So what kind of lock you want to apply? That value you have to specify as a second parameter. So what are the things? You can unlock it. So f underscore ulock to unlock. So you want to lock exclusively, you say f underscore lock. That means it is equal to write lock. You are applying. You are not trying to get or whatever. You are applying that. You are trying to apply the lock. right? So the other one is test and lock exclusively, f underscore t lock. Here you are doing that, whereas here you are applying, you are trying to test whether it's possible and then lock it. Otherwise, you will get to know the status. The other one is test for locks by other processes, f underscore test, right? In which case, you try to know whether any other process has applied the lock on that or not, kind of thing. So size lock is straightforward, no issue. Only lock-F should be used or FCNTL must be used, not both. That is what is being talked about. And the other things. Right?
So, sir, do we have shade locks in LockF?
Shade lock is, so this is unlock, lock exclusively, test and lock exclusively, test for locks by other. This is, shade lock is test only, actually. Shade lock is F underscore
Okay.
test. F underscore,
Okay, sir.
right. All right, so wonderful. And then, you can now, in fact, try to write the same 3, 4, and 5 by using this lock F. So that way you can very easily try to understand. So that you definitely you will get some errors here and there in the process. Your knowledge will get strengthened, right? So that's how you'll have to experiment and then learn the things and so on like that. So that is about the second method. But there is another important, some of the important things that you have to handle while writing concurrent programs. So essentially deadlocks. What is a deadlock? All of you are aware of in operating system. A deadlock is a situation where all the programs get stand like what it is still, no progress. No progress is possible within the processes that are involved in the deadlock. Not all the processes may be involved in a deadlock. 2 or 3 processes may be involved in a deadlock, in which case one process is waiting for the other process. That fellow is waiting for this process. So both these fellows will be waiting forever. So whenever you are writing concurrent programs, because here locks and all that you are doing, so you should see that no deadlocks are going to be possible. No deadlocks are going to be allowed kind of entity. So while writing the code, it must be written in that particular sense. When is a deadlock is likely to fall or be possible, as you can see here. Suppose 2 programs wish to update the same file, right? They both need to update, let us say byte 1 and byte 2 at the same time, right? Byte 1 and byte 2, 2 programs wants to update it. But if you write the code such that, imagine a scenario where you are writing the code like this. Program A chooses to update byte 2 first, then byte 1. Byte 2 first it would like to update, and after that byte 1. So, what do you mean by this? Because multiple programs are attempting changing these things. But before applying this update byte 2, what it will do? It would like to get some kind of locking kind of thing. It would like to get exclusive access onto byte 2. That's what you really mean by. So that you can make some changes on that. You want to get exclusive access on 2. And after that, byte 1. So unless these two occur, it doesn't follow this thing. Similarly, program B, imagine, whereby it would like to update byte 1 first and then byte 2. Imagine. This is the scenario. What if the first condition is true in the program A, and first condition also is true on program B? What do you mean by that? It has got the access to byte 2. Already it has got it, but it is also trying to get access to byte 1. So that means it has got exclusive lock is available on byte 2 by program A, but is waiting for byte 1. B has got exclusive access for byte 1, but is waiting for byte 2. So B is holding byte 1 and waiting on byte 2. A is holding byte 2 and is holding on and is waiting on byte 1. So both of them will be forever waiting after that. No, if you imagine, but you can create a scenario where it is going to use this apply the lock, apply the data change, and then move on. That is possible. But imagine a situation where the code is written such that first it would like to get the exclusive access onto byte 2, and after that exclusive access onto byte 1 without releasing. He is getting access to this, he is also getting access to this, and after that he will be making changes. So B also is in this particular manner. So this is a kind of a deadlock scenario. How do you avoid this kind of deadlock? Already you must have studied how to avoid the deadlock. One mechanism is like what it is, asking for the resources in the same order. That's what you really mean by byte 1 and after that byte 2. Both the programs, program A, in case it would like to like what it is, update byte 2 and byte 1 both, right? Apply the locks only in the same order. That means byte 1 and byte 2 always. The other fellow also byte 1 and byte 2. Then you can avoid the deadlock actually. So program A locks byte 2 and program B locks byte 1. Program A tries for lock, and this is already there, all that. So how are you going to do that? Here you can see. So a scenario is, as actually you can break them. Linux kernel doesn't do all that and so on. Everything is being talked about. So both programs should simply log the bytes they require in the same order, or what you can do, both can apply a single lock on the total area. 2 bytes if you apply the lock, either this fellow will get or the other fellow will get, and both fellows will get complete 2 bytes, so that they can use it after some time. The other fellow also will get, right? The problem is coming because each fellow is holding a part of it and waiting for the other part. So break that, either by applying a lock on the larger area or by applying the locks in the same order. You can avoid the deadlocks. So this is some kind of a solution there anyhow, as a part of that. I think we can stop at this level if you have no questions. Signals, maybe it's difficult at this stage to start it, already 10 o'clock. So we will discuss about signals in the next week, Tuesday, right? So are you all okay following? Just
Yes, sir.
read the book once again on the signals also. Next week we will continue, and slowly we will move on to actually network program after that, socket program using both C language as well as Java. So for network programming using C language, we will use the same book, Stones. So if you have time, you can just go through it, try to understand. If any questions are there, you can raise them appropriately later on, right? So for today, we are closing the session. Thank you.